process video for you today of this layout I did about the construction of our patio from last summer. I'm a member over at scraphappy.org, and I used the monthly sketch for this layout, and I printed out a bunch of small pictures of my patio project through the various stages of the project so that I could include all of the steps. And then the sketch included a lot of little embellishment clusters, so I went through this kit, which I showed in a previous video, and I'll have that link for you below. And I pulled out an ephemera pack that had to do with plants and gardening. And when I go through this embellishment pack, I make myself a category. So here on the screen is the category of things that I liked, and then I move things off that I don't like. Another element that I wanted to add was plenty of little word strips, and I had this sheet of pattern paper that was great for cutting those out. And then I'm looking for a few more embellishments to add from this particular kit, and this sticker sheet had a few things to use. Some more words, some butterflies, all things that would work well for my theme. And then I go through my paper in the same way. I make a pile off to the right that's stuff that I won't use for this layout, and then stuff to the left is stuff that is usable. And I just sort through each piece until I have a stack that could work. And since this layout is so busy, I started with a basic cardstock, and then I'm laying out all of my photos, kind of inspired by the sketch, but I turned the sketch sideways. And here I had two photos that were really, really similar, and it made a better, almost panorama photo. So I just really glued them together and turned it into one larger photo. And now I don't like the photos straight on the background of the cardstock, so I'm looking for other patterns to help bring it up off the background and kind of separate it out. I tried that kind of white and green pattern paper there, and then I decided maybe the wood grains would work better, so I pulled those out, and I'm fiddling with things as I go. And you notice I kind of shifted my layout around a little bit with the right-hand page. I liked this configuration better because it tells the steps of the story a little bit better. And then I'm just adding some details to my pattern papers now that I've got kind of the general layout of the page figured out. And here I am measuring, because as you see there, I printed out my journaling and my title all on the same sheet of paper, and I set up my word processor so that it would print just in that narrow column. And then I left a gap in between the title and the journaling to add this bit of embellishment here. And I'm pulling in elements from the other pattern papers that I used to add to that little embellishment cluster. And then taking some more pattern paper with some slightly contrasting color and adding some texture to it just by tearing the strips. And then I'm punching out some tags here to go with my left-hand page, because that was really the before, during, and after of the construction. So I use those little labels to label each step of the process. Now that the main construction of the layout is done, I pull the embellishments back in, and I keep the sketch in mind as I start filling in gaps and spaces in between photos and making clusters here and there. And in a minute you'll see that I go to my stash and I pull out a few more things. And I'm looking at these cork circles, and that's what inspired me to kind of go pull some other things out, because I wasn't happy with that cork by itself. So here I pulled out some twine and some wood veneer, and those stars are actually cork. And I thought that would help incorporate the cork circles. And then a little bit of washi tape. And there I've got everything attached, and I like to tip my pages upside down to make sure everything's glued down and nothing's fallen off. And then on this right-hand page, I try working on those embellishment clusters some more, and I'm having a hard time really deciding where I want things to go. I'm not really happy with how the sketch has little labels next to each photo, so I just kind of end up going with a cluster of 3 that's pretty typical for me on my page, and I'm trying to tuck some things here and there, and it's just not working out. And in a minute here you'll see me pull out my all my embellishments there again to see if I can find something to add in. And I find this label that I like, but it's a little bit big for the rest of the page, but I decide if I just leave the edge tucked out, that's a great place to add the date. And I look for a few more things here, and really nothing else is working, so I think I'm coming to a close with this. So I start using those stickers that I had set aside and start finishing up those embellishment clusters that I had, and making sure that I have elements from the left-hand page pulled into the right-hand page. So some twine on the left and the right, some butterfly stickers on the left and the right, some word strips on both pages, so that it balances well. And as my embellishment clusters are coming together, I add some finishing touches with the cork stars and these teeny tiny enamel hearts from the kit. And there I had a little trouble with that heart, but I got it to behave. And so I'm pulling all of this stuff together and really just kind of finishing things up. And I decided I needed one more star, so I grabbed that so that I could, again, make sure that I'm repeating my elements for the balance. And then I do a little bit more journaling here on my label in this embellishment cluster. And then I'm ready to add my date stamp up to that label, and I decide I want to save some of that label since it's mostly tucked under there. So I trim off the excess and then add my date. And then I think I am pretty much done with this layout. So here's a kind of quick look at the whole thing once it's done, and there will be photos for you next. Thanks for joining me. I'll see you next time.